Okay. So what I was thinking about, we could do like we did last time. We can do, you know, let's pretend we're at the airport or buying something in the shop. We could do that if you want. We can also do more grammar. So I've looked out the next section on grammar. We could do some more on articles and some more on counting words like any and some and that those kind of words. I thought it'd be quite useful. I can also do a recap. Do you know what recap means? Recap?
Recap is like understand?
No, no. Recap is it's to go back over something. I'll spell the word, right? I'll spell it in the chat. So let me.
Recall?
No, no. You said recall, right? That's what you just said, recall.
Yeah.
The word I'm using is recap, like that. See that? Recap. Which is short for recapitulation. There's a big word. But nobody says recapitulation.
Okay.
We do sometimes say this, capitulate. Right? Okay. Which means to give in. But recap on its own, recap, which is short for recapitulation, means go back over something again. Right?
Okay.
Just go back over it. So what I was going to say was we can recap some of the stuff we've done in exercises. You know, any of the words for the last few exercises. When I give you an exercise, I normally give you some words for vocabulary, say 10 or a dozen words. And then I used to give you some expressions. Usually I try to do that. Yeah, usually. A mixture of vocabulary words and expressions. And then there's another thing I give you, which I was doing maybe too frequently. I think I'm going to slow down. Is just all words with a letter. Either they begin with a letter like Z or Z. Yeah, they either contain Z or begin with Z. Yeah. So we're doing that. We started for some reason, I don't know why, at U, or was it Y? Can't remember. I think we did U, Y, X, or U, X, Y, Z, A is what we've done. So we've done, we've done about five, right?
Yeah, teacher.
Now, when I give you those words, I was not expecting you to go and look up the meanings of those words. But somebody was too diligent and did that, which is giving you lots of extra work. And I don't really want you to do that. Now, if you have the time and you want to do that, of course you can do that. But the problem with you doing that is you're giving yourself all this extra work. And what I would rather you do is when I give you exercise and say, look up these, I would only give you a small list of words, 10 words. Look up the meanings of these words and the meanings of these expressions. Then I'm not giving you too much to do, But if I give you a list of words to say, I'm going to give you maybe 15 or 20 words. And that's mostly about practicing pronunciation. The different ways of saying the different ways of saying. The really difficult one I just gave you there was the tough one. I called it the tough exercise, where you have like by and tough and through and although that are all using very similar letters in spelling. However, they vary dramatically in how they're pronounced. And there is no science to it. So unfortunately, English is not like Spanish. I can't comment on Mandarin, Alice. I don't know Mandarin enough to be able to comment on this. But I know I've learned enough about Spanish to see that it's incredibly consistent. So if you see a word spelled, you know how it sounds every time. No exceptions. Well, there are exceptions, but they're well known. Whereas in English, it's inconsistent. Very inconsistent. I don't know the science behind that, but I know it's inconsistent. So that's what
Yeah.
makes English difficult in terms of pronunciation.
Teacher, could you give me a moment, please? I have the other meeting just for a few minutes. Okay.
Yeah, no problem.
Wait a moment, teacher.
Yeah, that's fine. Alice, so it's just you and me for now until she comes back. So do you want to fire some questions at me by text? Do you want to just like on the chat window, type in some things that you want me to talk about? I'll. You want me to talk about I'll? Is that what you want me to talk about? Like as in I will? I'll short for I will. I can tape. I can type. You can type. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So yeah, so if you just type me any words or any questions that you have, you want me to look at, think about, or if you want me to talk about any subject, I can do that. I can talk for Ireland. I can talk a lot. So, you know, I could talk about any historical things, or I could talk about vocabulary. I can talk about grammar. All years until the rest of them rejoin us. See, it's just the beginning of your day and it's the end of mine. I'm pretty tired. I'm glad tomorrow's Friday. Talk about whatever you want. Okay. Now you've put me on the spot. I don't know if that translates. That's an expression we use to put somebody on the spot. Yeah, put someone on the spot. And I think that might comes from theatre, when the light on the theatre would highlight one individual and they're on the spot. Now they've got to speak, they've got to perform. Yeah. So we talk about putting somebody on the spot, which means you're looking at them, you know, so some people feel uncomfortable about being put on the spot, especially if there's an audience. If it's just two of us, like right now, then you wouldn't really feel on the spot. Yeah. But let's say you're in a classroom and you had 30 people and somebody said, Alice, so what do you think? You might feel okay about that, or you might feel uncomfortable about that. And so a good teacher would know Alice is going to be comfortable about this, so I'm going to ask her. Or she won't be that comfortable, so I'm not going to put her on the spot. So that's what putting on the spot is. Yeah. What else can I talk about? Oh, I see you sent me a WeChat message earlier. That's cool. And EO is teaching. Just a moment, please return back to the meeting. She's going to come back. I think put someone on the spot is same to feel awkward. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Usually, not always, but usually you're right. Yeah, I'm saying not always because put someone in the spot is to put them in the position where they have to ask a question. That's really it. You're putting somebody in a position where they have to ask a question. Now, lots of people, when you ask them a question, they feel awkward about that, right? Because, oh, they've got to say something. because there's often an audience is the problem. It's not just like two people, right? So if I ask you a question, you're not going to feel on the spot because it's just you and me. So there's nobody to be embarrassed in front of, right? But if there was a class of 20 people here and I asked Alice, what do you think? You might feel awkward. Yeah. So it's often it means that, but not always. Okay. But that was astute, what you said. Now, another thing we did in the class earlier was we used the expression hark. Something harks back. Do you know that word? Do you know that word? Harks back, like that. Do you know this? Okay, let me talk about harks back, because it was kind of strange. We were just chatting in the family tonight, and my son said it, and I had taught it to the class earlier. And when I said it, Anjali, who's really sharp, by the way, very bright girl from India, she said, is that like nostalgia? And I said, yeah, it is like nostalgia. Not exactly the same as nostalgia. Do you know the word nostalgia? You know that word? Okay. So you're in the right ballpark when you think nostalgia. So let me show you the context that we were using it. We were playing this movie, talking about this movie called Chicken Run. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. It's a children's movie. It's very good fun. Have you ever heard of that? Chicken Run? Yeah. Have you actually seen it? Have you seen it? Oh, cool. Brilliant. So that's fantastic. So Aaron, my son, said, oh, yeah, it harks back to The Great Escape. Have you heard of the movie The Great Escape? No? Okay. So The Great Escape is a World War II movie. Very famous because it's an old movie. I think it might have been made in the 60s, like when I was born. So it's really old. I'm pretty sure it was made in the 60s, a long time ago. It might have been 70s. And it's about people escaping from a German prison. It was like a breakout from a prison called Colditz. I think it was called Colditz, which was a big German facility. And all of these pilots that had been shot down and all, they were all in prison there. And they come up with this scheme to escape, where they built a tunnel under the ground to get out, over weeks and weeks and weeks. And they would dig out the soil. And then the problem is, if you dig out the earth, how do you get rid of it, right? You can't put it in your cell. So what they would do is they would put the dirt in their pockets. And then they would cut away the pockets in their trousers. And as they did their daily walks around the yard, they would drop the dirt from their pockets down through their trousers, down their trouser leg, onto the ground, right? Are you laughing? Anyway, so in Chicken Run, there's that. Do you remember the chickens are all cooped up and they're trying to escape from Mrs. Tweedy? And so they try to build this tunnel under the ground and it's not successful. So then they try to fly out, do you remember? And they need more thrust. Do you remember that? And so the girl who does that voice is Glasgow. That's a Scottish Glasgow accent. And she says, what you need is we need more thrust. thrust. And as she says thrust, she's rolling her R's, which is something the Scots, particularly in Glasgow, do, which is kind of fun. And anyway, so he made this point. Sorry, my son, who I'm talking about, is actually WhatsApping me right now. Let me just answer his question. Apologies. I'll send it to him later. Sorry about that interruption of service. Yeah, so his words were, it harks back to The Great Escape. So the film, The Chicken Run, harks back to that old classic war movie, which it does very well. Yeah. So that's what harks back means. Is that making sense, Alice? Yes, cool. To show how it's different from nostalgic, we would say something like this. Oh, it's quite nostalgic about World War II. It's not set in World War II, but it's nostalgic of that. That's how we would use that word. So the word hark, H-A-R-K, is used in two contexts that are common. One is listening clearly. Hark, I'm listening carefully. If you just say hark in its own, it means I'm carefully listening. And if you say it harks back, you're saying something reminds you of something in the past. It's like it's a picture, or it's a copy of something in the past. It harks back to some different era. So we've dealt with that. I'll wait for the other girls to join before we do the grammar. We'll do some grammar, which I think you will find quite easy. To be honest, your level of grammar is very high. And as you were pointing out to me last week, it's something the Chinese, really want to master. And so that's fine. Hi, Alida.
Hi, how are you?
Very well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your WhatsApp, and I've seen the picture of you with your family. That's very nice.
Yes, this is my family, my sister, my nephews.
Very good, very good. So we've got Alice on from China. It's 6:45 in the morning for her. That's keen.
For Alice.
Yeah.
Hello, Alice. Nice to meet you.
She is not able to speak just now because she's in her dorm with other girls who are not up yet, are not leaving. I think they're going to leave at 7. And then she'll be able to speak. But at the minute, she's sending me messages and saying hi on the chat.
Okay. And Io?
Io has been here. She has popped off to do a wee bit of teaching, and she's going to come back.
Okay, thank you.
So I was talking away to her, just her and I, for the first half hour maybe. And then Alice joined about 15 minutes ago.
Okay.
And then Io went away. You're coming, and I believe Diana's going to join as well, but she's also going to join late.
Okay.
I think. What are you going to say?
Sorry for a write letter. I was working.
That's fine. You did join briefly earlier driving the car, yeah?
Yes, but no, my cell phone is wrong. Is bad. I don't listen you or you.
Okay, you couldn't hear me.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. Do you know the difference between listening and hearing?
Yes, I remember. When I have in a conversation with another person, I say I can you hear me? Yes,
Yes.
but when I the song with on televisions or whatever radio,
Yeah.
I is listening. Yes,
Yes.
when the person is hearing, hearing is correct the pronunciation.
Hearing, hearing, hearing,
Hearing,
hearing.
hearing. Yes.
Yes. Yes. So listening, listening is active. I am listening for your voice just now. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm listening for your voice. But I might not be hearing you because your volume's low,
Okay.
or my speaker might not be working, or I might be deaf as a post. We say deaf as a post as an expression. Let me write that down. Alice, I'm going to change from sending messages to you to messages to the whole class. We would say deaf as a post. Like my father is deaf as a post, sadly.
Okay.
It's a real problem for him. Now he's old, he's 80 years of age. He's 80 this month, in fact, and going home for his birthday to Ireland. But he's deaf. Now, if I'm deaf, then I won't hear you, even if I'm listening. So listening is my attempt to hear.
Yes.
Hearing is when I'm actually hearing, right? I'm picking up your voice or the music or whatever.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So that's a subtle thing that, they're similar, and we use this America. It's a terrible American expression, right? But it's jumped over the pond. We talk about the Atlantic as the pond. Do you do that? The pond.
Yeah, it's like a portion of water
Aha.
when it's raining, for example.
Yeah, a small pond. That's a puddle. That's a puddle. So if it's raining and there's a little bit of water that the kids would go and splash in, that's a puddle. Let me write it down. A puddle. But if it's a small amount of water, you could have some fish in it. That would be a pool. And when we go swimming in a swimming pool, which is bigger and it's blue and it's chlorine in it, and there's no fish in it. Right? That's a swimming pool. Now, and then the word I used was pond. A pond is a similar kind of thing, but it would be in nature, and it's a small body of water. You might have some fish in it, or frog spawn, or frogs. That's a pond. But the point of saying a pond is it's small. Now I don't know what the word for this is, but when we talk about the Atlantic, which is huge body of water, right? The ocean, we call it the pond. So I flew across the pond to New York. Now, why we do that, I don't know, but we do that, right? We call it the pond often.
Tisha, I don't understand the sorry.
Okay.
I don't understand
Yeah. We
the
call,
explanation of pond.
yeah, you don't understand what a pond is yet. Okay, so a pond.
The expression I didn't
All right.
catch it.
Okay, no problem. So pond equals a small body of water. Check the chat. See the chat? That's what a pond is normally.
Yeah, Tisha. So in Spanish we say sorry, charco, but
cargo.
But I didn't understand. So the relationship between the expression and the
And the Atlantic?
idiom?
And the
Yeah.
Atlantic? Yeah, okay. So, all right. So the Atlantic, you notice we always put the definite article in front of the Atlantic. Yeah, in front of the Atlantic. We never say Atlantic. We say the Atlantic, right? That equals a large body of water, right? Extremely large, right? So here is a metaphor that makes no logical sense. Here is a metaphor that makes no sense to man or beast, right? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever, right? But we use the diminutive, there's a lovely word, diminutive term pond. Diminutive means small. The diminutive term pond as a slang reference to the Atlantic. Now, we do that in Britain, and the Americans do it. I guess they maybe started, oh, that's wee pond over there, that pond. I'm going to fly over that pond, and then I'm going to do the UK in 2 days.
Yeah, teacher. So yeah,
That's the way the Americans
I
speak.
get
You
it
know that.
a
You
little.
love the American culture. I know you do.
Yeah, and yeah, because so in the speakers, sorry, Spanish speaker, also this expression is very common because so it's like something used when people need to immigrate, for example, from Mexico to United States, and they say, for example, we have to pass the pond, and in Spanish it's something like tenemos que pasar el charco. Yeah, but it's something illegal. Yeah, the sense that has this expression in Spanish.
And when you say that, are you referring to the Caribbean?
No, teacher. So it's referring to people that want to go to United States so for living, and they say that we have to pass or we have to going through more or less the pond. Yeah, because it's like the part that separates these Latin countries with United States.
I get that.
Yeah, but it's more related to the illegal sense because it's like the way of which of which people can enter to that country without legal documents. Yeah.
Yes, I get all that, except I'm still confused by one point. So you need to help me. The point I'm confused about is when you say the pond in Spanish, you're gonna go with the pond.
In that specific context is when the people need to enter to United States without legal documents. Yeah.
Yeah, but are you not referring to the sea there in any shape or form?
In the case of I forget Mexico.
Yeah.
No, teacher. But the other people, for example, from Colombia, yeah, because so that means that we have to going through Colombia and all that part of the sea uh, to United States. Yeah, because so here we have all the part of the Atlantic.
Okay.
Teacher,
Okay.
you could you please give another example for another example to the use the word in context? Pond.
Pond? Yeah.
Pond, because
Yeah, teacher. So,
I understood this example of you in the Mexico for me is clear, but in your context in the UK, another example, please.
yeah, teacher. Because so I have the same question because at the beginning you told us that in America, so in United States, So basically, they say that is something similar to jump from land to the pond. Yeah, that is when we say something that doesn't make sense. Is something like that?
Yeah. So what I said was that the Americans, when we say the Americans, referring to the United States of America, the Yanks. The Yanks, they talk big, right? Right. Well, we characterize them as talking big, right? They're always bragging about something. You see Texas is bigger than any country. Texas is huge, right? So they're always bragging. That's something that characterizes Americans. And I'm sorry, but that isn't true, right? And they've got big hats and big boots and big mouths, right? Sorry, I have no American friends on this show, so tough, right? That's how they're characterized. Now, if they're talking about coming to the UK, first of all, they see the UK as a tiny wee country, right? Okay, I'll do that in a few hours. I'll do the UK. You see, meaning they'll drive around it and see what we've got. And they'll do that in a couple of days. Which is nonsense. I mean, you can't see even Scotland, and it take you 2 weeks to even drive around Scotland, right? So you can't do it in a day. You can't do it in an hour. But the Americans would think like that. So that's the one point. And then the other point is, yeah, I'll fly over the pond. I'll just fly over the pond. See? So they're just referring to the Atlantic Ocean, and they call it the pond. I don't know why, but they do. And we copy them. I'm pretty sure it would have started in America. I don't think we would have started that. So I can't give you a rhyme or a reason, but it's a fact. Now, a real pond is what you'd find out in nature, which is a body of water that is typically not supplied by a river. So if you have a lake, a lake often has a river in and a river out. So we have a lake here where I live, although we call it a loch, but that's just a Scottish word. Loch equals Scottish lake. We never say lake, we always say loch in Scotland, but that's a peculiarity to Scotland. We have actually one lake. We have one lake in all of Scotland. It's called the Lake of Menteith, which seems very irregular. Why would you have one lake in Scotland? Well, the answer is Menteith is named after a guy. He was an English traitor. And because he was an English traitor, the lake is named after, it's named like the English named it. The English always call them lakes. And so because he was a traitor to the Scots, I don't know the details, as a judgment, we call that lake a lake as opposed to a loch. Isn't that curious and interesting? I find it interesting. But there's a beautiful hotel there that I've stayed in called the Lake of Menteith Hotel. And it's really nice. And on it is a little castle. There's an island in the middle of it and a castle. And in that castle, Mary Queen of Scots, when she was born, was nursed there. And there was 2 other Marys with her, a Mary Beaton and a Mary Seton, and Mary Queen of Scots. And then there was a 4th child whose name escapes me. It's hard to remember because she wasn't called Mary. The others are easy to remember because they were called Mary. Mary, Queen of Scots, Mary Beaton, and Mary Seton, I'm pretty sure. And then this fourth one. And the reason for that was safety. So if somebody came to try and steal the child, steal the queen, they wouldn't know which Mary it was, right? Because, you know, they wouldn't have photographs. Which one is it? You see? We're talking the 1500s. This is what they did then. And Mary, Queen of Scots, her mother was Mary of Guise, who was French. And she took her to France. And eventually she married the King of France when she was really young. But then he died. And so she became Mary, Queen of Scots, and she came to Scotland. And because she was brought up Catholic. And when she came to Scotland, Scotland was Protestant, and she tried to turn Scotland Protestant, but she couldn't do it. And I don't want to go into the politics too much, and it is 500 years ago, but essentially she was never accepted by the nobles in Scotland. And she was eventually dethroned and imprisoned here where I live in another castle on another loch. This one's called Loch Leven, and there's a castle, and I'll bring up a picture one day and show you what it looks like. It's just very short distance from me here. And she was imprisoned there for 9 months. Easy to remember because it's like the same length of period as a pregnancy, right? She was imprisoned there for 9 months. But she escaped. And this is quite romantic, with the help of one of the sons of the laird who was imprisoning her. But he was madly in love with her. And he helped her escape and plotted a scheme to get her out. And on the night she escaped, she had to dress as a soldier and learn to walk like a man, not walk like a lady. And there was a big party that night in the castle, and she had to walk out as a soldier, but carrying some kind of food on her shoulder that hit her face, and she got out. To cut a long story short, she then raised an army in Glasgow and fought, but lost in the battle. And the man who had helped her escape died, sadly. And she fled to England, hoping that her cousin, who was Queen Elizabeth I, would show clemency, kindness to her. But she did not. She imprisoned her cousin. And she kept her imprisoned for 20 years and then chopped her head off. I jest not. And that's the story of Mary Queen of Scots, very, very briefly. Was that interesting or was that boring? Was that interesting? Alice, what do you think of that?
No, teacher, it's very interesting because so what I saw about Scotland, so that country is very amazing, not only for the landscapes, also because I understand that it's like the country from UK that has like the many numbers of like the more numbers of castles, and obviously so all the history that involve those castles, I think that is so widely maybe.
Yeah, it's a very rich history, the history of Scotland, you know. I find it, quite interesting. I would not be an expert on it. But if you guys find it interesting, it's something that I'll read up on and then talk about, because it's just an interesting topic to talk about, right? And then you guys can talk to me about the history of your countries, and then that helps you. You're formulating thoughts and you're articulating. You know, tell me about that. You know, I mean, the Spanish and the Portuguese influence on South America and Central America is huge, right? I've got a book. It's about the conquistadors, and I think it's titled "Guns, Germs, and Something." I can't remember what the third thing is, and it was saying that it makes the point that when the Europeans came over to your part of the world, they were carrying germs, right? Just, you know, cold germs, all the normal kind of germs that we would have, but you didn't have them over there. And that you didn't have any resistance to them. And so that had a big effect on the population over there. Because basically 200 Spaniards come over there and took over. I mean, how is this possible, right? How is it possible? It doesn't seem possible, right? But they did. And look, Spain is now spoken everywhere from, I don't know, Nicaragua to, or is Mexico north of that? Yeah, Mexico is Mexico. Yeah, Mexico's north of that, isn't it? Yeah, or is Mexico south? I need to check my geography here. But basically, apart from Brazil, everywhere speaks Spanish over there. You know, it's amazing, that sort of time of history, you know. So you guys can educate me a bit on Colombian history, and Diana can tell me about Guatemala. And we can all do some research on China. That's very interesting history as well. So there's many expressions in English, the English language, that come from these older times. For example, there was somebody, and he had the nickname of the Scarlet Pimpernel. And he was somebody that they were always trying to find, and they couldn't find him. And they come up with this rhyme, you know, where's the Scarlet Pimpernel? They seek him here, they seek him there, they seek him everywhere, but they can't find him. And so if you didn't turn up one day and I was waiting for you, I might say, oh, you're the Scarlet Pimpernel. So we use that as a kind of a metaphor for saying, oh, I can't find you. We just call you a Scarlet Pimpernel. But that goes back hundreds of years, you know. So some of the things that are in English are really old. Like I read one the other day, and it was Shakespeare had come up with the expression. And let me look at my list and try and find out what it was, because I'm going to teach you guys it. I haven't taught you it yet, but it's on my list of things to teach you. Yeah, that's it. Rue the day. Rue the day. Have you ever heard that expression? Rue the day? Let me write it down. Right, so the word is rue. And rue the day is the expression that Shakespeare invented. He made it famous in one of his plays. And rue the day. Do you know that expression, Alice?
No, teacher.
What does it
mean, teacher?
Yeah, so Alice knows it. Alice knows it. Alice, tell us what it means. Just write down what it means to rue the day. What does it mean? Just say one word or two words. You don't have to say it. You can just type it. I mean, or you can speak now.
Is a rest day.
Repeat, please, Alice.
Rest day, maybe. Hi, Alan. Could you hear me?
You're speaking very softly. I'll put my volume up and I'll ask you to one more time.
I think maybe it's rise today.
Rise the day. Are you saying R-I-S-E?
Yes.
No, it doesn't mean
Oh,
that.
sorry.
No, it doesn't. No, but it's fine. It's a fine attempt. It was a good attempt. But rue the day means regret. Right? So I could say, I don't mean this. I'm being facetious. There's a great word. I don't mean that what I'm about to say, so you don't take offense after I say it. But I could say, I rue the day I ever started doing this hello talk thing, which means I regret it. I really regret the day I began to do that.
I see.
You see what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. Now this is a common expression in English. Common. So a good one to learn and a good one to practice to say.
Teacher, but
Yes, Alida.
is only reference concerning a special event. For example, when the person married, the
If
person
somebody
married.
if they married and then they regretted being married,
Yes.
are you saying they would rue the day?
Through the day when we to marry, maybe.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, yes. Yes. That is a correct use of the word and the expression. Right? It's a good use of the word expression. It's a sad incident, and you'd hope it wouldn't be true. I hope when you lassies get married, eventually, God willing, that you don't rue the day. I would hope that you would not rue the day. But if you did think, oh, I've made a big mistake here, then you would,
She's a good person, Alida.
then you would rue the day. Does that make sense? Now, another expression that's a bit like this, but doesn't mean anything the same as it, is seize the day. And this is normally conveyed in Latin, like this: carpe diem. So it's Latin, but it's used in English a lot, and we just say it like a Latin word: carpe diem. And this means seize the day, which is a bit like what Alice was saying. She said, rise the day. So seize the day means, right, let's take advantage of the situation and we're going to do it. It's saying we're going to be decisive and do something. So are we collectively going to master English? Yes, you say, we are. Right, let's seize the day. Let's do it together. It's a exhortation. It's not a command, but it's a statement. Yeah, it's a statement. Seize the day. Seize means grab, hold tight. Yeah. If you seize somebody by the neck, you would get them by the neck. Yeah. That would be seize somebody. Seize, or you could be seized by the shoulders. The policeman seized me by the shoulders, grabbed me. So when people say seize the day, it says, right, the day means not the day physically, but the opportunity that the day represents. So we could rue the day, we could regret the day, or we could seize the day. I never brought those things together before now. I just thought of that as we were talking. Okay. Okay, Alice says okay.
Tisha?
Yeah.
So the spelling of seize the day is S-E-I-Z-E. Yeah?
Yeah, that's the correct spelling. Seize the day.
Okay.
And if somebody has a seizure, I sent that to Alice. Sorry. I meant to send it to everyone. Let me just do that again. Seizure. A seizure is when somebody has an attack, like an epileptic fit. You know, when something goes wrong in their head and they sort of violently shake about and fall to the ground. I don't know what you call it in Spanish or Mandarin, but you know what I'm talking about. A kind of a fit. Have you ever heard of the disease epilepsy?
Epilepsy. Yeah?
Yeah.
How is pronounced, teacher? Sorry.
Yes. You were almost perfect. Epilepsy is how we say it. Epilepsy. So the emphasis is on the first syllable. Epilepsy. So if you have epilepsy, that would be one form of seizure. But if you had a heart attack, cardiac arrest, that would be another kind of seizure. Or if you had a stroke, in your brain, or a DVT, that would also be a seizure. So I'm just talking about seizure because we were talking about seize. Is that all good? Now, we can do some grammar now if you want, or I can go over some of the exercises, or I can answer any questions that you guys have. What would you like me to do? Stop laughing at me yawning. It is 20 past midnight, So, what would you like me to do?
I choose for sometimes exercise of grammar.
Yeah, okay, I can do grammar. Right. Well, let me do.
Even a list. What do you think?
Okay, so this is called a confab. It's a good word. That'll be a new word for all of you. I think even Alice, that'll be a new word for. Alice, did you know confab? I'll bet it's no.
Confab?
Yes, I know.
You know it. See this, Alice girl? We would say about Alice, there's no flies in Alice, right? She knows stuff. Yeah. So there's no flies in Alice, right? So confab is where we have a little chat amongst yourselves. It's not a conference, but we have a wee brief discussion about something. And so Alida is asking you, Eo and Alice, well, what do you guys think? Do you want to do grammar or do you want to do something else? She is favoring grammar, but she doesn't want to press her way onto you guys. So she's asking you politely, what would you like to do?
Okay.
And so that's an invitation for you guys to speak up.
Tisha, I have a question with somewhat that I didn't so I didn't comprehend quite well. What is the usage of this word of sibilance?
Sibilance.
Yeah, teacher, because says that it's something related to the sounds, soft sounds, for example, of the S, sh. I don't know how to say those phonetics sounds, but also I found that it basically is like murmuring briefly in a, so maybe in a provided, I don't know how to say that, the room, but I didn't understand. So what is that? When I use that, it's just like when I told to someone like whispering, like a secret.
Okay, so I don't know that I'm following all that you're asking me, Io.
So, but my question, Tisha, so to make the long story short, is when I should use sibilance, what is that?
Sibilance. Okay, that's easy to answer. That's easy. So sibilance is when you make a hissing sound with your mouth, which you can't help but do when you use the letter S. So, for example, if I say a simple word, sugar, right? Shh, shh. There's this shh sound at the start of it, sugar, right? That shh sound is sibilance. Okay.
Yeah.
And you also get at the end of words like yes, yes. So the sibilance is coming at the end. So that hissing sound, hissing, is what sibilance is. Now, some people, when they speak, have very pronounced syllabants, and it can be quite irritating for other people, especially if they're speaking, let's say, into a mic and they're speaking very close to the mic. It really amplifies the sibilance. And I was saying
Yeah.
that on the radio, that's a bad show, you know. And if you ever see anybody these days in a recording studio, you often see them with the microphone and a kind of a disc in front of it. And that disc is trying to reduce the sibilance.
Yeah, yeah. So I found I figure out the relationship with the whispering.
Yes.
Because when we are talking so
Yes.
soft, so
Yes.
it's normal that this sibilance goes out. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Tisha, so the other questions about now I understand the like the meaning, but so we can use that word, for example, as an adjective, or so for example, to say that that person talks with a sibilant spoken or something like that, or
Yeah.
it's just to know that is like this sound that is given when we talk in a certain way.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh. You would say, I mean, I've never said this in my entire life, right? So this is extremely rare, right? But you would say something like, they talk with a lot of sibilance, or they're very sibilant.
It's just a noun. It's not an adjective.
I guess not. I think the adjective would be sibilant, a sibilant voice. I don't know. I think so, right? You're beyond the edge of my understanding here, to be honest with you. So let's look it up, right? Sibilant, sibilance, sibilant. Yeah, sibilant is a word. Let me share my screen. Can you read that? Sibilant.
Mm,
Sibilant.
To make, adjective, making or characterized by hissing sound. His sibilant whisper. Well, what do you know? There you go. Phonetics of a speech sound sounded with a hissing effect, for example, s, and sh. Sh.
yeah.
A sibilant speech sound. So, you know, I make lots of references to things in the Bible. There is a very interesting story in the Bible, and it uses the word shibboleth. Now, let me show you what that word means, first of all, in modern speech. Yeah, there you go. Shibboleth. This is very interesting. A custom, principle, or beliefs distinguishing a particular class or group of people, especially a long-standing one regarded as outmoded or long important. Here's an example. The majority, under the influence of vague 19th century shibboleths, understood him to be associating himself with the doctrine that every nation has the right to be a sovereign state. Now, I won't take time to explain the story tonight to try and cover a lot of ground, though if you're interested, I will another time. But essentially, there's an interesting story in the Bible where they asked men to pronounce this word, shibboleth, and they couldn't do it because in their native tongue, they were like Spanish speakers or whatever, and they couldn't, I mean, they weren't really, it was Hebrew and I can't remember the other language. They couldn't say the sh sound. They couldn't say shibboleth. They said sibboleth, sibboleth. And so that was giving way of what nationality they really were. And so they used it as an identifying thing. And if they couldn't say shibboleth, they got killed, basically. It's a very interesting story. If you want to know more about that, I will do that another time. But because of that, that word has come into English as shibboleth. So you remember what the definition was. If there's something that identifies you, right? So for example, you could say that a shibboleth of the Amish community in America is that they wear 17th century clothing. That's a shibboleth associated with them. Yeah. A shibboleth of the Brazilian people is that they have these carnivals where they walk about half naked and dance down the street. That's a shibboleth. It identifies them. And
Okay.
so there's a link here between sibilance and shibboleth. It's almost the same word. Do you hear that? It's almost the same word. Sibilance, which has got to do with S sound, sh sound, and shibboleth. And the link is that Bible story. Like half the things in English.
Okay.
Have you ever heard the expression, a little bird told me? How did you know that, Alan? If I said a little bird told me, would you ever heard anything like that?
Yeah, teacher. In Spanish, it's the same. Un pajarito me dijo.
Okay, cool. Well, did you know that comes from the Bible? There you go. That's another thing that comes from the Bible. So there's lots of things in English that come from there because that was the book that everybody read in the 1600s. Everybody read that one book. And so therefore, lots of analogies and words, and like if I said scapegoat, do you know the word scapegoat? Do you know that word? You mightn't know that word. No. Okay, so that's a common word in English. You need to learn that one. A scapegoat. So the scapegoat is somebody to blame. So, you know, oh, the football team, the Colombian football team lost in the match against Paraguay.
England. Always we lost with England.
Lost with England. Okay. So they're looking for a scapegoat, right? Which means they're looking for somebody to blame. Whose fault was it? Was it the goalie? The goalie was hopeless. I think they were looking for a scapegoat, right? That's very common in English. Very common.
Teacher, but this is a noun. Looking
Yeah.
for something.
Yeah.
Scapegoat.
Yeah. Scapegoat is a noun. Yeah.
Okay.
And again, that's a Bible expression, right? So the scapegoat was sacrificed, and the idea is that all the blame for the sins of the nation once a year were put on the head of the scapegoat, you see? So the scapegoat was the one to blame. And so that's come into English, and people use it every single day in life. Like every day, people use that word.
So it's very common.
Very
nowadays.
very common, but nobody would know where it comes from. No, almost nobody would know that. If you asked 99 out of 100, if you asked them, where do you think that word comes from? They would have no clue. We do that. See that? There's a gesture right over their heads, right? But I can tell you it comes from the Bible. It's another one of those things. And one day I'll do a talk just on this. I mean, there's literally like, it must be a couple of hundred things that we say in English. I'm sure it's a few hundred that all originates from there. But most people don't know that. Like most people don't know that, you know. But if I said, you know, I have my cross to bear, people would know that comes from the Bible, yeah? Bearing a cross. Like, you know, how's Alita doing today? Well, she's doing quite well, but you know, she has a cross to bear. Means that there's something in her life that is a burden to her. Yeah, we say that's a cross to bear. You heard that? A cross to bear? No, bear, right? To bear as in carry. Bear is not just a big cuddly animal, but it's a verb meaning to carry. So I would bear my burden on my own.
Yeah, it's something similar to can stand, teacher? Bear?
Burden?
Can bear? Can stand?
No, no,
No?
no, it's to carry.
Okay, yeah.
So like, he has
Maybe
a,
tolerant.
well, good interjection. You need to be tolerant. It's not exactly the same, Alice. So let's talk about both, right? To be tolerant is to bear with, I suppose. So you're right in a sense there. Let's say I didn't like the Chinese, right? I didn't like the Chinese. And this is not true, of course, but I'm just saying this as an example. If I didn't bear the Chinese, but if I said I tolerated them, but I can tolerate Alice. I don't like the Chinese, but I can tolerate Alice. What I'm saying is I don't like the Chinese, but Alice, I will bear with her. I tolerate. So tolerate is saying that you're prepared to work with and accept someone, but you have major reservations just the same. So that child, I cannot tolerate that child because they're making so much noise. That says I'm not tolerant. You see?
Yeah, so I think that is something similar in Spanish, because tolerate is like has like a negative meaning, right, teacher? So it's like, okay, so I have to tolerate because it's like the only one thing that I can do it. Yeah, but it's not something that I like.
Right. Right. That's what tolerate. And so tolerate is a bit like bear with, which is, I think, the connection that you made, Alice. To bear with somebody.
Is like a punishment situations.
Come again, Anita? What was that? What was that?
It's like it's like punishment situations with another person.
I
Punishment.
am not picking up the word you're using, I'm afraid. Write your word, please, for me in the chat.
Okay.
So what I understand, teacher, that Alida says is that if it is used when we are, for example, in an uncomfortable situation, that she say a punishment situation.
Punishment.
Punishment.
Yeah, sorry for the stress.
Sorry.
Fine.
Punish.
Punishment.
I know you're saying something. You know what it is. EO knows what you're saying, but I have no clue. That's going shit over my head because the pronunciation is not quite right, right? But that's
Okay.
perfectly okay. But I've got you now. So it's not
Repeat pronunciations.
it's punishment.
Punishment.
Yes.
Punishment situation with another person.
Yeah. So like, I better do the homework for the teacher, otherwise he will punish me. He will give me extra homework. Yeah, that would be punish. Or my mommy is going to punish me because I'm late home from school. Punish me. Yeah, it's gonna whip my ass, right? That's what punish is, right? Punish.
Right.
Teacher.
But bear, I don't want to leave bear until we've got bear, right? Bear with somebody is what tolerate is, to tolerate, right? That's what bear with is. Like those two separate words, bear and with, together are the same as tolerate. Now, that's not the same, exactly the same as bear on its own. Because if I bear on its own with a I'm laughing because there's another meaning to bear, which I'm just laughing at, which has got to do with having no clothes on. He was bare on the beach. That's B-A-R-E. Yeah.
Yes.
That's B-A-R-E. But bear as in B-E-A-R, not the cuddly animal, gorilla, or not gorilla, but you know, thing that you'd be frightened to meet in the jungle or frightened to meet in the woods. That kind of bear, obviously, is totally different. That's a noun, but bear as in a verb is the best way to think of it is I'm carrying something on my shoulder. In a physical sense, I'm bearing it on my shoulder. But it's more often used as a metaphor, saying that I am carrying some kind of burden. So for example, I could say, oh, that guy has a terrible burden to bear because his wife has early onset dementia. So he has terrible burden to bear. You see that?
Yes.
That makes complete sense. Or that woman has a terrible burden to bear because she's been suffering with leukemia for a decade. It's a terrible burden to bear because she also has 2 children. See, so that's what we mean by bear, to bear a burden. Okay, so I think we have done this to death. There's an expression. I'll write it. We've done this to death, right? We've beaten the life out of it, right? I think we all understand bear with, tolerate, and bear as in B-A-R-E, as in having no clothes on. I think we've done it. Any questions?
Sorry, teacher, I have many questions.
Yeah.
No, but the last one is I can use the verb put up with, yeah, instead tolerate.
Yeah.
Okay, it's just that.
Bear with equals tolerate. Tolerate. I can't cope with Eo's accent, but I will bear with her as I am sure it will improve soon. I didn't mean this, of course, and you won't take offense. But you understand the meaning of what I said. Now, I could have said instead, I don't.
This is so sad, teacher.
And, terrible. I could say, I don't fancy Alida's accent either, but I can tolerate it. There, I've got you both. So I obviously love you both just as much. You get my point there. So here I'm using in one I'm saying bear with, and the other sentence I'm saying tolerate, and I mean the same thing. Yeah,
I would
exactly.
say we are close to beer for Alan. Yes, we are close to beer for Alan. Io and Aleida, close to beer for Alan.
Close to bear.
Close, yes, close to beer for Alan.
Cross.
Oh,
Cross.
yes. What you'd say there is Alan is the heavy. I need to change this away from Io as it goes to her. It goes to everyone. Alan is the heavy cross to bear for both Io and me.
Okay.
That's what you're saying. Yeah. You should see this teacher. He's a total nightmare. I'm not going to continue. It's just too much of a cross to bear.
It is only an example, teacher.
I hope.
Yeah. So a cross to bear or a burden to bear. I'm not going to bear with him any longer. I've had enough.
It's late for you.
Yeah. I better call it quits now. I think we've been going for nearly 2 hours, you know. We started at 11 and it's nearly 1 o'clock in the morning, so. But like we've covered some ground and we've done some stuff and we've got some practice. We've had some fun. We've got Alice joined us, which is great. So it's amazing to think that we've got from Colombia to China in one call via Scotland. Isn't that amazing? I think it's amazing.
Yeah, teacher.
Okay. So you two girls have my WhatsApp number. Alice has me on WeChat. So if any of you want to chat to me, like one-on-one, just practice conversation, just let me know, you know, hey, Alan, I fancy a chat. Let me know when you're free, whatever. And then I will squeeze you in somehow to my life, right? Normally when I'm driving the car, I've got some time to kill. I'll speak to you and you can have just some practice, yeah? We can talk about anything. We can talk about diet. We can talk about language. We can talk about Scottish history. We can talk about your country's history. We can talk about politics if you want to be edgy. Talk about anything.
Thank you so much, teacher, for that chance.
We can talk about our families. You can educate me on your families. I've seen pictures of Alita's, all her cousins and aunts and uncles, and I don't know. There's a big, a lot of people in her WhatsApp picture. She can tell me about those. You can tell me about your family, Eo and Alice. I don't know anything about your family yet, but I'm sure you can tell me about your family. And most of you seen pictures of my family, I think. I'll keep showing you pictures of my little granddaughter, Marcy. I'm very proud of.
Okay, teacher. So thank you again for your time. Or for
yeah, no problem.
Put up with us. Put up with us. For two.
Yeah, I have borne with you. I've borne with you, but it's been very enjoyable. You know, it's been good fun. Been good fun. Okay, so I will see you on the group chat next, no doubt. Yeah. And it's really important to me you continue to give me feedback, such as you're giving us too much content, Alan, you know, or I need more, right? So you can control how fast I press the pedal, right? I'm detecting from our interactions in the last 24 hours, EO, that I've been pushing too much at you, too much, yeah. And Anjali hasn't done any of the exercises, although she says she wants to do them. So I'm kind of going to ease off a wee bit and go a wee bit more slow. But you guys guide me, right? There's plenty of homework of exercises that have not been done by some people that you can still do. You can also ask me any question, anytime, any day. If it's a language question, put it in the group chat, and then everybody benefits. If it's more of a personal question, you can come to me direct. But you know, if it's just a language question, it's better. Don't put that on WhatsApp because then I will answer you, but then only you get to see that. But if you put it in the group chat, then everyone gets to see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you want to say to me, Al, hey, are you free for a chat on Saturday? You can send that to me on WhatsApp.
Okay, right. Thank you, teacher.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll bid you good night. Well, good evening. Buenas noches.
Thank you so much, teacher.
Eo and Alida. And
Buenas noches, profe.
I'll say good morning to Alice. Have a nice day,
Yes,
Alice.
sir.
It's Friday. Have a nice day. And I'll see you all either at the weekend, a one-to-one chat, or next week. I'll see you next week. All right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Muchas
Good night.
gracias.
Bye.
Hasta mañana.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, Alice.